Some betrayals come from strangers. Others were your last name. I thought I was helping my family, covering bills, paying debts, filling in gaps. I was the responsible one, the strong one, the one they could count on. Until the day I opened an envelope. Inside was a $52,000 invoice for a car I didn't buy, a signature I didn't write, and a sister behind the wheel who thanked me for my generosity. That was the day I realized I wasn't part of a family. I was part of a system built on guilt, manipulation, and silent expectations. So I did something I'd never done before. I said no. And in doing so, I lost my family. Or maybe I finally saw the truth that I never really had one. If you've ever felt like love came with a price tag, if you've ever been told you're selfish for setting boundaries, this is my story. My name is Julia Carter, and I'm 29 years old. I grew up in Ridgewood, Connecticut, a place where lawns are perfectly trimmed, houses look like they belong in magazines, and everything seems picture-perfect from the outside. Our home had 5 bedrooms, a 3-car garage, and a kitchen with marble countertops that my mother, Linda, never actually cooked in. My father, David, was an investment banker with a fondness for scotch and control. And my younger sister, Megan, was the family star. Beautiful, dramatic, magnetic. She was the sun, and I was the shadow. Always dependable. Always available. Always invisible. From the outside, the Carters looked like a dream. Inside, our family ran like a business. Love came with conditions. Support came with interest. And everything had a cost, especially affection. The moment Megan was born, things shifted. I was 4 years old and instantly pushed to the background. She cried. Everyone came running. I cried. They told me to be quiet. She got applause for being expressive. I got scolded for being emotional. The comparison started early and never stopped. She got horseback riding lessons just because she liked ponies. I had to bring home straight A's just to get permission for piano lessons. On her 16th birthday, she got a brand new Audi with a red bow in the driveway. For mine, a used Honda and a long speech from my father about practicality and humility. But I didn't complain. I worked harder, smiled when I wanted to scream, graduated top of my class, earned a full scholarship to Ashbridge University in Vermont, double majored in economics and business, took internships while Megan took gap years. By 24, I was working as a junior financial analyst in Manhattan. By 27, I had my own apartment, a healthy 401k, and savings my parents liked to comment on frequently. But success didn't bring respect. It brought resentment. Because in our house, Megan's chaos was romanticized. And my stability was seen as cold. Every holiday became a stage. My mother would critique my apartment. Too small, too modern, too plain. Megan would dominate conversations with dramatic breakups and new job dreams that never lasted. And I'd sit there, clutching a glass of wine, smiling tightly, wondering how I became both the backbone and the outsider. But it wasn't until last Christmas, until that envelope, that I realized the truth. They didn't just take me for granted. They were taking everything they could get. The financial exploitation didn't start with the Mercedes. It began with small requests, subtle, wrapped in guilt and sweetness. Julia, honey, Megan's having a hard month. Could you help her with rent? Sweetheart, your dad's in between commission cycles. He just needs a little bridge loan. Since you're doing so well now, would you mind covering the catering deposit for my charity event? Just this once. At first, I said yes out of love, or what I thought was love. I told myself this was what family did. We helped each other. Accept each other always meant me helping them. 3 years ago, Megan ran up $12,000 in credit card debt. She called me crying at 2 a.m., claiming she was going to lose her apartment. She promised she'd change, that she'd budget better, that this was rock bottom. I paid it off. 6 months later, she maxed out the card again, this time on a luxury vacation to Bali with her friends. When I confronted her, she laughed. I needed a break, she said. You work all the time. You wouldn't understand. When I expressed frustration to my mother, her response was classic Linda Carter. Julia, sweetheart, you know Megan just experiences life differently. Be grateful you're not the one struggling. Last year, they bought a vacation home in Lakewood Hills, a lakeside resort town 2 hours away. A few weeks later, they asked me to cover their Ridgewood property tax bill. It's just a temporary cash flow issue, my father explained. You know how much we sacrificed for your education. They always said that, how much they gave me, how much they'd invested in me, conveniently forgetting that I paid my own way through college, that I juggled 3 jobs in undergrad, that I still had student loans until I was 28. But despite everything, I still craved their approval. Still hoped naively that if I just kept giving, one day they'd see me, appreciate me, maybe even love me the way they loved Megan. So last October, I tried again. I planned a family weekend in Manhattan, my treat. I booked a luxury suite at a boutique hotel in Soho. Got tickets to a Broadway show Megan had said she wanted to see. Made reservations at a restaurant with a 6-month waitlist. They came. They smiled. They took selfies. But all weekend, my mother made comments about how small my apartment was. Megan hogged every conversation, ranting about her new boyfriend drama. And my father barely looked up from his phone. Still, I told myself it was progress. Then December came. And with it, the final blow. It was a Wednesday, December 15th, just 10 days before Christmas. I was on my lunch break scrolling through Instagram at my desk when a picture stopped me cold. My cousin Chloe Adams had posted a photo with the caption, "Early Carter Family Christmas. So blessed to have everyone together, red heart, Christmas tree." The photo was taken in my parents' living room. There was my father, David, carving a turkey. My mother, Linda, arranging presents by the fireplace. Megan, in a sparkling red dress, laughing with Chloe and a dozen other relatives. Uncles, aunts, cousins. Even our grandparents were there. Everyone except me. I stared at the screen, heart pounding, brain refusing to believe what I was seeing. There hadn't been an email. No phone call. Not even a text. I picked up my phone and called my mother. She answered on the 4th ring. "Oh, Julia. How are you, sweetheart?" Her voice was overly bright. Too cheerful. I didn't waste time. "Mom, why wasn't I invited to the family Christmas last weekend?" A pause. Too long. Then, "Oh, well, it was very last minute, darling. You're always so busy with work. And Megan mentioned you had plans." I hadn't. And I definitely hadn't told Megan I did. When I said as much, my mother sighed dramatically. "Julia, please don't start. It wasn't formal. Just a casual get-together. You know how Megan gets when she feels overshadowed by you. We didn't want any tension." Overshadowed. That word again. As if my very existence was a threat to Megan's emotional stability. "You've always been our strong one," she added. That phrase, the strong one, was their favorite excuse for ignoring me. It was code for, "We can hurt you. You'll survive." She assured me I was still absolutely invited to Christmas Day. The way someone throws a bone to a dog they forgot to feed. That night, Megan texted me. "Sorry you missed the party. It was so fun. Mom said you were busy anyway. By the way, can you help me pick out Mom's gift? Thinking jewelry, but need your dollar input, lol, 2 hearts." Not an apology. Just another ask. Just another reminder that in her eyes, I was a wallet with legs. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying years of similar moments. The family vacation to Cancun I discovered through Facebook. My graduation dinner ruined because Megan had a fender bender. My promotion celebration cut short because Megan had a breakup. Something broke inside me. By morning, I made my decision. I texted my mother. "I won't be joining for Christmas Day. I've made other plans." Her response was immediate. What plans could be more important than family? But the word family had never felt so empty. Instead of replying to my mother, I called Emily Brooks, my closest friend since college. For years, she and her family had invited me to join their Christmas celebrations, and for years I had politely declined, hoping each time that this year, my own family would come through. This time, I said yes. When I explained what had happened, Emily didn't ask questions. She didn't offer toxic positivity or suggest I talk it out with my parents. She simply said, "Come. Mom's already set a place for you anyway. You're family to us." Her words, "your family to us," hit deeper than any invitation I had ever received. In the days leading up to Christmas, I found myself doing something unfamiliar, looking forward to the holiday. I helped the Brooks family decorate their tree. I baked cookies with Emily's younger siblings using her grandmother's recipe. I wrapped presents in front of a roaring fireplace while carols played softly in the background. There was no walking on eggshells, no passive-aggressive comments, no invisible scoreboard keeping track of who owed what. Just warmth, just joy, just family, the kind I'd been missing all my life. Meanwhile, my phone lit up with increasingly desperate and manipulative messages from my biological family. My father called. "You're breaking your mother's heart." Megan texted nonstop. "Can you at least help me get Dad something? I'm strapped." "Wow. Guess you've officially replaced us with Emily's family now. Good to know where your loyalty lies." Even extended relatives who never called suddenly had opinions. My Uncle Frank, Dad's older brother, messaged me. "Family isn't perfect, but abandoning them at Christmas? That's low, Julia." The only message that didn't make my stomach churn came from Aunt Karen Adams, my dad's younger sister, and something of a black sheep in the family. "Heard you're not coming for Christmas. Smart girl," she said over the phone. "And just so you know, the casual gathering they said was last minute? They started planning it back in September." I saw the printed invites when I was at their house. The sting of that truth made my eyes burn, but it also gave me clarity. It wasn't an oversight. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a choice. They had deliberately excluded me. And as Aunt Karen went on, the reason behind the timing became obvious. "You know Megan wrecked her car last month, right?" she added. "Totaled it. Drunk driving. Your parents have been scrambling ever since to get her a new one. But they don't want to dip into their Lakewood Hills renovation fund." It suddenly clicked. The planning, the quiet exclusion, the softening of family ties right before asking for something big. They were preparing me. I thanked Karen, hung up, and made a silent vow. No more. Christmas Day came. And it was the first one in years where I didn't cry in the bathroom at some point. We ate too much, played board games, sang off-key Christmas songs. When Emily's father raised his glass and toasted to family, both born and chosen, I actually smiled and meant it. Later that night, I returned to my apartment with a bag full of leftovers, a full heart, and not a single urge to check my phone. I was beginning to understand something no one had ever taught me. Family is who shows up when it matters, without asking for anything in return. By January, Ridgewood was cloaked in gray skies and leftover snow, the festive lights slowly disappearing from doorways as the town returned to its quiet, post-holiday routine. I buried myself in work. It was comforting to return to a world where numbers made sense, where logic prevailed, where rules were followed. Unlike in my family, where chaos wore the mask of tradition. 3 weeks after Christmas, I was starting to feel like myself again. I'd set some New Year's resolutions, set firmer boundaries, take that financial certification course I'd been postponing, prioritize people who respected me. I had no idea my biggest test was already on its way. It arrived on a Thursday evening. Tucked between a utility bill and a furniture store flyer was a thick manila envelope. No note, just my name and address in my mother's handwriting. Elegant as always. I opened it in the elevator on the way up to my apartment. And what I saw made my heart stop. The first page was an invoice. $52,000. From Luxury Motors of Fairfield. Purchaser, Megan Carter. Co-signer, Julia Carter. My name, my signature, but not my pen. Beneath it were loan documents for a brand new Mercedes GLE Coupe. 5 years of $1,138 monthly payments. Insurance, paperwork, an extended warranty. And then, as if this were normal, a handwritten note. Thanks for helping with the new car. The old one was totaled, and I needed something reliable. Mom and Dad said you'd understand since you're doing so well. Payment info attached. First due February 1st. Love you, sis. Two hearts, Megan. I stood frozen in my hallway, the elevator door long closed behind me, my hands shaking as I clutched the pages. This wasn't a mistake. It was calculated, deliberate, brazen. They had forged my signature on a $52,000 loan. And they didn't even try to hide it. I called my parents immediately. My father answered. Julia, he said calmly, as if nothing had happened. Did you get the paperwork? Dad, I said, my voice trembling. What is this? I didn't sign for Megan's car. That's not my signature. There was a pause, just a heartbeat, before he replied. Now, Julia, let's not be dramatic. We knew you'd want to help. Megan's been through a lot since the accident. She was drunk, I snapped. Aunt Karen told me. That's not the point, he said. She has an interview next week. She needs to make a good impression. In a Mercedes? I asked, stunned. His tone shifted, patronizing, sharp. Your mother signed for you. We knew you'd be difficult about it, but we figured once you saw the paperwork, you'd understand. You're making enough to cover it. I nearly dropped the phone. Your mother signed for you. We knew you'd be difficult. It was fraud. And they didn't care. Because in their eyes, I didn't own my success. They did. My voice came out lower than I expected. This is illegal. I'm not paying for Megan's car. Don't be selfish, Julia, he replied coldly. After everything we've done for you. I hung up the phone and sat in silence. It wasn't just the forged signature. It wasn't just the assumption that I'd pay. It was the way my father said it, as if they were entitled to my life. My phone buzzed almost instantly with a barrage of texts from Megan. Dad said you're being difficult about the car. I need this car, Julia. You don't even drive a Mercedes, so why do you care? If you don't help me, I'll be stranded. Each message tightened the knot in my stomach. I turned off my phone, poured a glass of wine, and tried to breathe. But the next morning, things got worse. I logged into my bank accounts, something I did regularly as a habit, and saw a red warning banner on my primary savings account. An unauthorized access attempt had triggered a temporary freeze. I called the bank immediately. The representative confirmed that someone had attempted to log in using a recognized device, my old laptop. The same one I had given to my parents last year when I upgraded. They hadn't just forged my name. They had tried to drain my savings. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't emotional manipulation. This was theft. Premeditated, digital, financial theft. I sat down at my kitchen table and stared at the folder of car loan papers still spread across the counter. My mother's handwriting. My forged signature. My sister's thank you note, with a heart over the I in sis. I opened my laptop and searched for legal resources on financial fraud involving family members. And every article echoed the same thing. If your name was used without your permission, report it. You are not responsible, even if it's family. That afternoon, I received an email from my mother. Julia, your father is very disappointed in your reaction. Megan is heartbroken that you would abandon her in her time of need. As your mother, I must say, I raised you better. Family stands together. The car is already purchased. Megan loves it. She's planning to thank you on Instagram this weekend. Don't embarrass her by creating drama. That line, don't embarrass her, was the final nail. They weren't even asking anymore. They were expecting. And if I refused, I'd be labeled ungrateful, vindictive, dramatic. But this time, I wasn't going to cave. I called Lisa Turner, a lawyer recommended by Emily. Her office was in a converted brownstone in Midtown, all warm wood tones and quiet authority. She reviewed the documents with practiced focus, then looked up over her reading glasses. This is textbook fraud, she said. Your mother forged your signature on a legally binding financial agreement. Being your parent doesn't make it legal. You have 3 choices. 1. Report to the police and press charges. 2. Report the fraud to the bank and dealership. 3. Pay for a car you never agreed to. I sat still, her words sinking in. My instincts hesitated. This was my mother. My sister. Would I really press charges? Then Lisa said something I'll never forget. You're asking me if you should protect the people who just tried to rob you. I left her office with a plan. Still shaken, but clearer than I'd felt in months. When I turned my phone back on, I had 17 missed calls and 36 messages. My father had escalated to threats. If you pursue this fraud nonsense, consider yourself cut off. Megan sent one manipulative bomb after another. You owe me. Remember when I covered for you when you crashed Dad's boat? I had never crashed any boat. You're just jealous. You don't even have a boyfriend. You're cold. That's why no one likes you. The gaslighting was shameless. The desperation, almost cartoonish. Even Uncle Frank called to say I was being overly legalistic about a simple misunderstanding. They were all trying to overwhelm me into compliance. Instead, I forwarded everything to Lisa and began documenting every message, every threat, every lie. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just got organized. 2 days later, my phone rang again. This time it was my mother. And she used the voice, that cold, clipped, formal tone I hadn't heard since high school. Julia Elizabeth Carter, she began, full name guilt weapon loaded. We need to discuss this car situation like adults. Your father and I are hosting dinner tomorrow. Megan will be there. We expect you at 7 o'clock. It wasn't an invitation. It was a summon. And in the past, I would have gone, hoping for resolution, hoping they'd listen, hoping they'd care. But this time, I agreed for a different reason. I needed to say things out loud, to their faces, not to win but to set myself free. The next evening, I pulled into the circular driveway of their pristine colonial home, feeling nothing like the obedient daughter they remembered. Through the front window, I saw it, Megan's brand new white Mercedes, gleaming in the driveway like a monument to entitlement. Meanwhile, my parents' cars were tucked discreetly into the garage, as if they were already protecting themselves. My mother greeted me at the door with a chilly air kiss that landed somewhere near my temple. Finally ready to be reasonable, she said with a smile so tight it could cut glass. The dining room was already set. Crystal glasses, polished silver, linen napkins folded like swans. My father stood near the fireplace with a glass of scotch in hand, performing his favorite role, disappointed patriarch. Megan sat at the table, scrolling through her phone, not even bothering to look up. Sit down, Julia, my father said, gesturing to the chair across from Megan. Your mother made your favorite, beef stroganoff. It wasn't my favorite. It was Megan's. They never remembered mine. As I sat, my father cleared his throat. Before we begin, I want to express how deeply disappointed we are in your recent behavior. This legal drama, threatening fraud charges, this is not how family operates. I leaned forward, voice calm but steady. How does our family operate, Dad? By forging signatures? By trying to drain my bank account? By excluding me from Christmas and then expecting me to finance Megan's lifestyle? Megan slammed her fork down. Oh my God, are you seriously still crying about Christmas? It wasn't even that big of a deal. I turned to her slowly. It was the entire family, Megan. Everyone. But me. Because you make everything tense, she snapped. You always act like you're better than everyone. With your boring job and your tiny apartment and your little trophies. You're obsessed with being perfect, and it makes people uncomfortable. My mother placed a dramatic hand on Megan's arm and turned to me. Julia, you know your sister is sensitive. And frankly, this jealousy is unbecoming of a woman your age. Jealousy. They still believed it. I'm not paying for the car, I said, my voice firm now. What you did was illegal. I've frozen my accounts, and I've documented everything. My father's expression shifted, less disappointed, more dangerous. After everything we've done for you? I didn't let him finish. What exactly have you done for me? I paid my way through college. I built my career. I paid off my loans. You've spent the last decade supporting Megan through failed schools, unpaid rent, credit card debt, and now this fraud. And every time I've helped, you've treated it like a debt I owe you. My mother's voice rose. We gave you a home, an education, opportunities. The minimum legal requirement of parenthood, I replied. And you've been sending me the bill ever since. Megan stood so abruptly her chair clattered backward. You think you're so much better, but you're just a cold, uptight bitch. No wonder your boyfriend left you. That hit harder than I expected, but not for the reason they thought. What they didn't know was my ex-boyfriend had left because he'd been cheating with Megan. I stood up slowly, placing my napkin on the table. If I have to choose between paying $52,000 for a car I didn't authorize or keeping ties with a family that steals from me, lies to me, and disrespects me, then that's not a hard choice. I walked to the door without looking back. My mother called after me. Megan needs that car. What is she supposed to do now? I turned, one hand on the doorknob. The same thing I did. Buy something she can actually afford. And I left. The drive back to my apartment felt strangely silent, like the world was holding its breath. I replayed every word from that dinner, every insult, every denial, every accusation, and felt something unfamiliar rising inside me. Relief. I didn't feel broken. I felt unburdened. I had finally said everything I'd been swallowing for years. And even though it was messy and painful, I had told the truth. Out loud. To their faces. The guilt I expected to feel never came. Still, doubt crept in during the quiet moments. Was I overreacting? Had I gone too far? Were the people who raised me really that bad? So I did something I'd never done before. I booked an appointment with a therapist. Dr. Susan Miller, a specialist in family trauma and boundary recovery. During our second session, she leaned forward and asked me, "Julia, if a friend told you this same story, what would you tell them to do?" The answer came without hesitation. I'd tell them to walk away, to protect themselves. She nodded. So, why is it different when it's your story? I had no answer, but I knew she was right. Meanwhile, the Carters weren't done. Megan launched a public campaign on social media, complete with a teary selfie next to the Mercedes. Her caption read, "When your own blood tries to ruin your life, but you rise anyway, stay strong." Sparkles hashtag family betrayal hashtag sister support hashtag thankful for my car. She tagged me deliberately. Her followers flooded the comments with sympathy and praise, none of them knowing the real story. My parents doubled down. They started contacting my friends, my coworkers, even my boss, Rachel Morgan. Rachel called me into her office. "Julia, your father called today," she said gently. "He claimed you're emotionally unstable and that he's concerned about your ability to manage financial accounts under pressure." I stared at her, heart in my throat. "Did you believe him?" I asked. She gave a short, dry laugh. "Julia, I've worked in PR for 20 years. That was the most obvious damage control call I've ever heard. And for the record, your work has never been anything short of excellent." I blinked back tears. She wasn't just defending my performance, she was defending me. After that meeting, I called Alex Bennett, my financial advisor. I explained the situation in detail. He was calm, direct, and ruthless in all the right ways. "We need to firewall your finances," he said. "New accounts at separate banks. Change all passwords. Lock your credit. Remove any shared devices." We did it all. The final blow came during a routine credit check. A store credit card application had been filed under my name for a high-end furniture retailer. 2 days after the Mercedes paperwork. It had been denied, thanks to the fraud alert I placed. But the attempt proved something chilling. They weren't stopping at the car. They were setting me up for long-term financial abuse. They had a system, and I had just broken it. That night, I received a message that sealed it. Megan, clearly drunk, sent a text so venomous, so honest, it finally erased every last shred of doubt. "You think you're better than everyone, but you're just a lonely B*TCH with no one who loves you. Mom and Dad only put up with you for your money. We all laugh at you behind your back. Enjoy your empty apartment while I enjoy my car." I stared at the message for a long time, and instead of crying, I felt calm. The truth was out. They didn't love me. They tolerated me for what I could provide. It should have hurt, but instead it felt like freedom. The next morning, I called Lisa Turner. "I'm ready," I said. "Let's report the fraud." "All of it." "Are you sure?" she asked. Once this starts, it's hard to undo. They've left me no choice. That afternoon, I contacted the loan department at the auto dealership. A representative named Tom Reynolds handled my call. "My name is Julia Carter," I began. "I'm calling to report a forged signature on a $52,000 auto loan." He asked a series of verification questions, then transferred me to the fraud department. I gave them everything: the fake signature, my financial documentation, the lawyer's information, screenshots of Megan's text, proof of the attempted savings account access. Tom listened patiently. "Family fraud is unfortunately common," he said, "but reporting it takes real courage." "What happens now?" "We'll begin an investigation. If the fraud is confirmed, we'll remove the loan from your record and pursue repossession of the vehicle." "You mean you'll take back the car?" "Unless the other party qualifies for the loan independently, yes." I knew Megan couldn't. Her credit was a dumpster fire. And my parents? They wouldn't take on the debt. It would go against their image of control. I thanked him, hung up, and waited. 3 days later, Tom called again. "Miss Carter, our investigation confirms that your signature was forged. We've removed the loan from your name and your credit report. The vehicle will be repossessed." Less than 2 hours after that call, it happened. Megan started blowing up my phone with voicemails and texts, alternating between fury and desperation. "They took my car. I'm stranded at the mall. You ruined my life. You selfish B***TC." I blocked her. Then the calls came from my parents. My father's voice was shaking with rage. "What you've done is unforgivable. Your mother is in tears. Megan is devastated. You're no longer welcome in this house. You are no longer our daughter." And just like that, they made it official. I blocked them too. Then went down my contact list and blocked every possible flying monkey. Uncles, cousins, friends of the family, anyone who might try to guilt or gaslight me. Social media turned into a battlefield. Megan posted a tearful video about her car being stolen by a jealous sister. "Some people will destroy what you love rather than see you happy," she said, tears artfully streaming down her cheeks. Even when they're your own family, the comments exploded with sympathy. No one asked questions. I deactivated all my accounts. The truth didn't live there anymore. Then came the email from Lisa. Julia, their lawyer, reached out. They're offering to settle. Turns out, once the dealership confirmed the fraud and repossession began, my parents realized they weren't just losing the car. They were staring down the barrel of criminal charges. Their offer: pay all my legal fees, sign a notarized admission of guilt, agree to never access or interfere with my finances again. In return, I wouldn't press criminal charges. I accepted. Not out of mercy, not out of love, but because I didn't want to give them martyrdom. I wanted closure, clean and final. The day the settlement was signed, I received a message from a number I didn't recognize. It was Megan again, this time using a friend's phone. "You think you've won, but you've lost everything. Enjoy your money and your empty life. We're all better off without you." Her words didn't hurt. They confirmed what I already knew. I hadn't lost a family. I had lost people who never acted like one. That evening, I had dinner at the Brooks home. Emily's father made his signature lasagna, and we toasted with sparkling cider instead of wine. "To Julia," he said, raising his glass, "for having the courage to choose self-respect over appeasement. Not everyone does." I smiled. This was family. 6 months passed. Summer rolled into Ridgewood with its soft heat and lakeside breeze, and I finally felt at peace. The storm was over. The legal threats were gone. The financial damage was reversed. My savings were secure. And so was my identity. There were hard days, of course. Mother's Day hurt. I stood in the card aisle for half an hour, unable to touch a single envelope. Every message spoke of unconditional love, sacrifice, warmth. Things I had longed for and never received. But the longer I stayed away from my old family, the clearer my vision became. My apartment, once mocked by my mother for being depressingly small, became my sanctuary. I decorated it exactly how I liked: soft lights, Bookshelves, cozy corners. No judgment. No criticism. Just peace. With space came clarity. And with clarity came growth. I got promoted at work. Started leading projects. My boss, Rachel, gave me a glowing review and told me I was being considered for regional leadership. "You've always been good," she said. "But since January, you've been free." I joined a book club, started hiking on weekends with a group of colleagues. I even began dating again, with boundaries I never knew how to set before. Dr. Susan reminded me, healing isn't linear. You're not trying to erase the past. You're learning how to live after it. In July, I received an email from Aunt Karen. "Stephen and I are celebrating our 40th anniversary at the lake house. You're invited. No pressure. No drama. No Mitchells. Just good food and better company." I went, and it was beautiful. Karen was the family rebel, always on the edge of things, always seeing more than she let on. We sat on the dock, watching the sunset over the water. "Your mother was always like this," she told me. "Transactional. Calculated. She didn't marry your father for love. She married him because he matched her ambition. When you were born, I hoped you'd escape that influence." "I did," I replied. "It just took me 29 years. She squeezed my hand. Better late than never. The most surprising message came from my cousin Chloe, the same one who posted the Christmas photo that had exposed it all. Her email was simple, sincere. I didn't understand what was happening at the time, but I see it now. The pattern. "I'm sorry I played a part in it. If you're open to it, I'd like to reconnect. On your terms." We met for coffee. It was awkward at first, but slowly, the layers peeled back. Chloe told me that since I cut contact, Megan had become more demanding. That my parents were now leaning on other family members for help. "It's like they need a target," she said. "And once you stepped away, they just pick someone else." I felt a pang of guilt, then clarity. It wasn't my job to save everyone. Each person had to reach their own breaking point and make their own choice. Chloe and I kept in touch, slowly rebuilding. No gossip, no pressure. Just two women healing from the same legacy. Christmas came again. This time, I didn't even think about the Carters. I accepted Emily's invitation to their cabin in Vermont. I volunteered at a local shelter on Christmas Eve, serving meals with people who had known true hardship and still managed to smile. And on Christmas morning, surrounded by people who chose to be together, not out of blood or obligation, but out of love and respect, I realized. This was the life I'd always deserved. Some people are born into families who lift them up. Others are born into families who weigh them down. I spent years trying to earn love that should have been given freely. I spent years playing the role of the good daughter, while my soul slowly withered. But the truth is, family isn't about DNA. It's about respect, about mutual care, about love that doesn't come with a receipt. If you're watching this and something in my story feels familiar, if you've ever been told that setting boundaries is selfish, let me tell you, it's not. Sometimes walking away is the bravest thing you'll ever do. Sometimes it's the only way to survive. Today, my life isn't perfect, but it's mine, and it's peaceful. And that is something I'll never again trade for guilt, gaslighting, or a $52,000 car. Thank you for listening to my story. If it resonated with you, please like, comment, and subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear this. Choosing yourself isn't betrayal. It's survival. And sometimes, it's the beginning of everything.